Welcome, friends. My name is Alan Levine, and I am privileged to serve as chair of the board of the Jewish Theological Seminary. On behalf of the board, the administration, and the faculty, I am delighted to welcome you all to this special convocation. Today's conferral of honorary degrees represents a milestone in the careers of our honorees. These leaders are devoted to our traditions and our people. Individually and as part of our movement and communities, they have helped meet the religious needs of today's Jews, and they prepare the way for a flourishing Jewish future. The broad and deep impact of these canors is reflected in today's audience. Joining us online are not only proud family members and friends, but lay leaders, professional colleagues, and members of the congregations served by our honorees. We had hoped to celebrate with our honorees in person here at JTS on our beautiful new 21st century campus. Alas, we will wait one more year. Although the current COVID surge required us to hold this convocation online again, we nonetheless come together today, physically distant, but spiritually connected to celebrate our honorees' achievements. Many of the canors we honor today have been on the spiritual front lines of the pandemic, tending to grieving individuals and disoriented communities, even as they go through their own struggles in response to the pandemic. They have shown amazing creativity and resilience, finding new ways to connect and to inspire. And the Jewish community, all of us, is in their debt. Thank you so much for joining us to honor these canors, and to our honorees, Mazel Tov on your innumerable accomplishments and your profound and lasting impact on the Jewish world. JTS is pleased to partner with the Canors Assembly in today's convocation, and it now gives me great pleasure to call upon Chazan Luis Katan, President of the Canors Assembly, to share a few words of greeting. Following his remarks, Chazan Nancy Abramson, Director of the H.L. Miller Cantorial School and College of Jewish Music at JTS, will offer a Devar Torah. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear friends, it is with immense gratitude that I stand here today. And I actually was imagining the room being filled with our colleagues and their relatives, and it's a great feeling. I'm representing the Cantor's Assembly in celebrating my beloved colleagues in this milestone. And as president of the Cantor's Assembly, I am deeply humbled addressing this group who individually and collectively had made significant contributions to their synagogues, to their communities, and to the Jewish world. May you all continue to go Michael El Chail, from strength to strength. The Cantor's Assembly, we all, the Jewish people, appreciate your service. We are, as the Cantor's Assembly, thankful to JTS's H.L. Miller Cantorial School for their leadership in educating the new generations of cantors. As we face the challenges of the times we live in, so many, we feel hopeful and optimistic for what awaits in the future. The reasons could be that 100% of the recent graduates of JTS are successfully employed, or that enrollment for next year looks likely to double. But perhaps all that we've been celebrating together in the last years is due to the close cooperation between the Cantor's Assembly and JTS, a relationship that, although based on people, transcends individuals, a relationship that is not new, but gets renewed every day, as well as our long-standing commitment to continuing strengthening our bond. To our colleagues who are honored here today, we are grateful and proud of you. On behalf of the Cantor's Assembly, I personally commit to keep working to elevate, to educate, to build, to unite, to enrich, to lead, to connect, to empower our sacred calling. The same way that you have exemplarily done it all these years. To JTS leadership, thank you for continuing with the precious legacy of Torah, and for many more reasons to celebrate together. Thank you.
Thank you, Chazan Katan, for enriching today's ceremony with your thoughts and your presence. Our Torah reading for this week, Parshat Truma, begins, God spoke to Moses saying, "Tell the Israelite people to bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts for me from every person whose heart is so moved." This command to share all kinds of materials for the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle that will house the Ten Commandments, emphasizes that these precious gifts are to be brought willingly. Why is God requesting these gifts? V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. Rabbi Ellen Weinberg-Dreyfus writes, as we contemplate God's instructions, we think about bringing our gifts in hope that God will dwell among us. But what gifts do we bring? Ours are not made out of colorful yarns or tanned skins or acacia wood. What exactly is expected of us? We, whose hearts are so moved. I sometimes wonder, she writes, where the Israelites got all that stuff in the wilderness. I picture them carrying it in their backpacks, along with the granola bars and first aid kits and sunscreen for their 40-year hike in the Sinai. I imagine the moms saying, just pack it. Trust me, you might need it. You never know. How do you know what to pack for a journey into the unknown? And how do we know what gifts to bring to create a place for God to dwell? Well, if Rabbi Weinberg-Dreyfus was here today at this convocation, she would see a group of cantors who have spent their careers beautifying God's modern sanctuaries with exquisitely crafted melodies, ancient chants, new compositions, guitars, choirs, maybe even a few granola bars. Each of you has journeyed into the unknown workplace, and using your musical, pastoral, communication, and organizational skills, fashioned those workplaces into sanctuaries where God could comfortably dwell. I am so humbled to be standing before you, my esteemed colleagues, as you receive honorary doctorates from JTS for your years of gifts of the service to Jewish people and to God. I have shared convention chats, deep conversations, musical moments, and even a few drinks at the bar with almost all of you over the years. Today, we at JTS honor you for your years of service. We clergy often say that our work is more than a job, that it is a calling. In a few moments, each of you will be called by name and awarded your honorary degree in recognition of your career of bringing gifts, creating magical moments for B'nai Mitzvah and their families, leading countless services, comforting mourners, teaching Jews of all ages and abilities, conducting choirs, visiting the sick, officiating at so many life cycle events, composing new music for the Jewish people, organizing Purim spiels and concerts, balancing it all. Our Parsha focuses on building the Mishkan, the structure that is the symbolic core for the Israelites. The tabernacle was a physical entity. Each one of you has spent your career building a spiritual entity, bringing your talents to strengthen and enrich that core, a link in the chain of Jewish continuity. For JTS, this convocation is our way of thanking you and honoring you for your career as Chazanim. Yiyasher kochechem, may you continue to be enriched in strength. I am now pleased to call on Chazan Gerald Cohen, a member of the H.L. Miller Cantorial School faculty and one of today's honorees, and Chazan Natasha J. Hirschhorn, also a member of the Cantorial School faculty and director of our chorus. They will perform Chazan Cohen's Shehechianu, marking this joyous day in the lives of all our honorees. Following their performance, we will be privileged to hear remarks from Dr. Shuli Rubin Schwartz, Chancellor of the Jewish Theological Seminary.
Wow, that was gorgeous. Thank you so much, Chazan Cohen, Chazan Hirschhorn, with that gorgeous rendition of Shechayanu. And thank you, Chazan Abramson, for your inspirational message, which, although we didn't coordinate it, sets me right up for mine, so thank you. It is a special joy and honor to mark this day with you, our Chazanim, for your service these past 25 years. The ability to use one's gifts professionally in service of the Jewish people is a gift not only to the person blessed to engage in such a career, but also for the communities that they serve. It is for the longevity of your service to our people, service that has animated your days and nights for decades, that we honor you today. During these 25 years or so since your investiture, and I am pleased to say that a year ago, JTS began to ordain its cantorial graduates in recognition not only of the growing integration of cantorial and rabbinical education, but also of the vital role that cantors play as clergy in our communities. During these 25 years, Jewish life has grown more sophisticated, the religious hunger of our people more varied, and your cantorates have evolved to meet those changing needs in many different settings. Through prayer leadership, choir conducting, new liturgical compositions, teaching, pastoral care, song leadership, relationship building, and more. You individually, and you through your distinctive career path, you collectively have touched the souls of countless Jews of all ages, transforming Jewish life and Jewish lives for the better. The significance of your singular contributions as Chazanim is epitomized to me by our biblical prophet Miriam and her unique leadership role, particularly in the wake of the Exodus from Egypt, where she assumes center stage. The Israelites are standing on the bank of the Sea of Reeds, about to enter the wilderness. They are unmoored by slavery, not yet tied to Torah. I imagine the Israelites beginning to panic. What will come next? How will we survive? How will we cope? Miriam steps up at this liminal moment. Vatikach Miriam haniviyah achot Aharon et hatof biyada, vatetzena chol hanashim achareha, bitupim uvimcholot. Then Miriam, the prophetess, Aaron's sister, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her in dance with timbrels. Some might describe this moment as an ecstatic state of prophecy, but I would like to suggest that Miriam stepped into her role planfully, based on a teaching in the Mechilta de Rabbi Ishmael. V'chi minayin hayu lahem liYisrael tupim umecholot bamidbar? Fair question to ask. From how the heck did the Israelites have timbrels in the desert? Mechilta answers, being tzaddikim and knowing for a certainty that the Holy One, blessed be He, would perform miracles and mighty acts for them when they left Egypt, they readied timbrels and dance instruments for themselves. We are told in the Torah that the Israelites took dough and kneading bowls, obviously, to make food, gold, silver, and clothing. But Miriam and others brought timbrels, and she used them to lead the people in song, music, and dance. Shiru l'Adonai ki ga'o ga'a. Sing to the Lord, for God has triumphed gloriously. One might think this a frivolous act at such a momentous turning point in the lives of the Israelites, Miriam pulled out timbrels and started dancing? Yeah, exactly that. Even in the chaos and the terror of the Exodus, the anxiety over the unknown, she anticipated not the physical needs of the people, but their spiritual needs. And she prepared accordingly. In so doing, Miriam teaches us that in moments of crisis or anxiety, but also in moments of joy and gratitude, leaders must ignite the affective sides of our being, our hearts and our spirits, something you know so well, because nothing does that better than music. One last point. We know that our tradition associates Miriam's name with bitter waters, in part because right after Miriam's singing and dancing, the Israelites come to Marah and find the water to be bitter. And also because the unvocalized Miriam and Marim have the identical letters. But another way of looking at this incident is to see in Miriam's name a message about the importance of resilience in life. My friend and colleague, Rabbi Professor Wendy Zierler notes, Miriam's name might instead derive from the root mem vav resh, which means to change or to alter. Water is ever flowing, ever changing. Understanding Miriam's name in this way, we would translate Miriam not as bitter waters, but as changing waters or transformational sea. And this is what you've devoted your lives to, transforming souls and spirits in your congregations, with B'nai Mitzvah students, parents, empty nesters, aging and infirmed, children and teens, youth in youth groups, students in religious school and day schools. And as we all know, the pace of transformation has catapulted in the past 2 years under the cloud of COVID, as you have had to continually develop new ways to meet the needs of our people. Miriam's leadership exemplifies the very best of the cantorate. First, she reminds us that the vicissitudes of life ebb and flow. Effective leaders give their constituents the strength to ride the waves, not drown in them. Second, Miriam exemplifies the leadership that cantors bring to Jewish life, because she reminds us that to fully meet the needs of our people, we need to have at the ready not only the physical tools, but also the spiritual tools in our toolboxes, timbrels, songs, and movement, both to sustain ourselves and to sustain others with joy, with meaning, with community. As we celebrate your careers today, it is a great honor to us at JTS. We are thrilled to be able to honor you for the ways in which you walk in the world as Jewish leaders. Every moment has its challenges, and the importance of religious leadership is essential to meeting them. Chizku v'imtzu. We wish you strength and fortitude and many more years of sipuk nefesh, of deep satisfaction, as you continue to pursue your sacred work. We now turn to the moment you've all been waiting for, the conferral of the honorary degrees. It gives us the opportunity to publicly celebrate and acclaim the long and distinguished careers of a select group of cantors who have left their mark on their communities. These honorary degrees have been approved by the JTS Board of Trustees. In the Talmud in Ta'anit, we learn in the name of Rabbi Ami, a person's prayer is not heard unless they take their soul in their hand. In other words, unless the soul accompanies prayer. Words alone are not enough, says Rabbi Ami. Words together with melodies are not enough. For prayer to be heard requires the involvement of the soul. Those whom we honor today help us involve our souls in our prayers. Through their chazanut, they give voice not just to the words on the written page, but to the words inscribed in our hearts. Theirs is not merely an art or a talent, it is a gift from God. It gives me great pleasure to note today that among the honorees today are the first two women invested as cantors by JTS in 1987, Chazan Marla Barugel and Chazan Erica Lippitz. Women have transformed the cantorate with their talent, their creativity, with their unique perspectives. We are delighted to acknowledge these pioneering women for their contributions as cantors to Klal Yisrael. We also honor the memories of two cantors today. Chazan Renee Colson, Zichrona Livracha, was one of the members of the JTS Cantorial School classes being recognized today. She was invested in 1989 and died in 2005. Chazan Colson was a skilled and dedicated cantor who served with great devotion and brought meaning, joy, and comfort to all who knew her. May her memory continue to be a blessing. And Chazan Robert Kival, Zichrono Livracha, who died only 10 days ago, was a beloved teacher, coach, and mentor in our H.L. Miller Cantorial School for over 20 years and served as interim director of the school, which is when I had the opportunity to work most closely with him. He also served as senior cantor of B'nai Israel Congregation in Rockville, Maryland from 1997 to 2001, and as president of the Cantors Assembly. May his memory be a blessing to all those whose lives he touched. Our honorees have made enduring contributions to the conservative movement and the Jewish people. Each has brought unique abilities and commitment to the sacred task of serving the Jewish community. I'm delighted now to invite up Cantor Nancy Abramson, Rabbi Jan Orbach. Rabbi Jan Orbach, acting dean of the Division of Religious Leadership, will now briefly introduce each honorary degree candidate. We will first present the candidates who are joining us on screen, and then present two candidates who, as speakers or performers today, are actually here in the auditorium with us.
Chazan Benjamin Benish Adler. You've served as Chazan in conservative, Orthodox, and Reform congregations, and have also served as a cantor educator. You earned a master's degree in voice and opera and have created many musical and educational programs, including annual concerts that raised considerable sums. You trained hundreds of congregants in Nusach and cantillation, enabling them to participate in and lead services, and played a key role in life cycle events. Mazal Tov. Chazan Maria Joy Rosenfeld Barugel, cantor of Congregation B'nai Israel in Rumson, New Jersey for 26 years. You are a champion of women's rights in conservative Judaism. In May 1987, you were one of the first two women to receive the diploma of Chazan from JTS. You have excelled in teaching more than 650 B'nai Mitzvah students to chant Torah and Haftarah and to lead davening, and you have reaped joy in conducting children's choirs. Mazal Tov. Chazan Aaron Ben Susan, born into a Moroccan rabbinic dynasty, you have served as cantor in prominent synagogues in New York and Toronto and performed worldwide. One of your most satisfying and creative endeavors has been composing music, combining Ashkenazic and Sephardic elements with a tapestry of Middle Eastern rhythms, jazz, flamenco, and pop grooves. Your famous composition of Lecha Dodi has been recorded and sung live across the globe. Mazal Tov. Chazan Mark Biddleman, cantor of Temple Emmanuel in Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey for 48 years. You are currently the congregation's active cantor emeritus. You have created original contemporary services and in 1971 composed the first service performed with musical instruments on Shabbat in a conservative synagogue. You have taught more than 2,000 B'nai Mitzvah and imparted valuable tefillah skills to generations of adults and children. Mazal Tov. Chazan Scott A. Buckner, after 3 decades in the cantorate, patiently nurturing students and inspiring souls with your passionate musical expressions in prayer, you became the sole spiritual leader of Israel Congregation in Manchester, Vermont. Your music, creativity, and deeply spiritual leadership has energized your new congregation and endeared you to the greater community, where you serve as president of the local Interfaith Council. Mazal Tov. Chazan Jean Adrian Kaplow, you served as the first woman cantor of Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. You created inspirational services and grand concerts for the community and the congregation. You led choirs and arranged music for groups of all ages and fashioned a trope curriculum for teaching bar and bat mitzvah students. You served on Pittsburgh's Holocaust Committee with the American Jewish Committee and in interdenominational groups. Mazal Tov. Chazan Joseph Chazan, professionally trained in opera in Israel. You were later taught by Chazanim Morris H. Solomon, Alan Michelson, Moshe Shulhoff, and Nathan Lamb. You have served Temple Judea in Laguna Woods, California for 14 years, following 28 years at Congregation Elat in Orange County, California. Performing and organizing concerts with both local and Cantor's Assembly colleagues, you have also trained children's choirs and hundreds of B'nai Mitzvah students in sacred music. Mazal Tov. Chazan David Foyer, you have served as Chazan at Temple Emmanuel of Palm Beach, Florida since 1986. You have led choirs in Argentina and Palm Beach, produced major annual concerts, and inspired teens who now pursue professional music careers. You have composed many congregational melodies, and your career has included concerts with Jewish organizations in the United States, South America, and Israel. Mazal Tov. Chazan Meir Finkelstein, as cantor of synagogues in Los Angeles, Detroit, and Houston, you have devoted your career to composing and sharing your original musical settings of the liturgy with your colleagues. Through these compositions, you have contributed to the enhancement of congregational participation. You have also mentored young cantors and continue to support and encourage them in their roles as future chazanim. Mazal tov.
Oi, oi, I'm going off script. I just want to hug every single one of you. Chazan Herschel Fox. At age 6, you sang for the Chazan of the Talmud Torah Synagogue in Winnipeg, and at age 19, you became that congregation's cantor. You studied Chazanut with cantor David Kusevitsky, and you appeared with Jan Pierce and Molly Picon, performing Yiddish songs and comedy throughout the US. As Chazan in Winnipeg, Connecticut, and California, you consider your greatest accomplishment training young people in traditional European Shabbat Nusach. Mazal tov. Chazan Chaim Frankel. For 37 years, you have proudly served Kehilat Israel Reconstructionist Congregation of Pacific Palisades, California, as cantor. You followed in the enormous footsteps of your late beloved father, Chazan Uri Frankel. You have been involved in commissioning new music, primarily by Chazan Meir Finkelstein. Of your many accomplishments, you are particularly proud of leading missions to Eretz Yisrael with over 1,000 members of your congregation. Mazal tov. Chazan Howard K. Glantz. As longtime cantor of Congregation Adat Yeshurun in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, and Adat Shalom Synagogue in Farmington Hills, Michigan, you have always appreciated mentors and role models. Serving the community as a Moel, you are also committed to lifelong learning and engaged in rabbinical studies at the Academy for Jewish Religion. From preschoolers to seniors, you have served with distinction and passion, blending the contemporary with tradition. Mazal tov. Chazan Ralph Gorin, you have served congregations in Detroit, Los Angeles, and Atlantic City. In Los Angeles, you established a unique group B'nai Mitzvah program for recent young Russian immigrants. In Atlantic City, where you recently marked 20 years of service, you established a regional conclave for members of the Cantors Assembly, which included concerts at your own synagogue with strong support from your congregation. Mazal tov. Chazan Toby Lou Heyman, spiritual leader and Chazan of Chicago's Central Synagogue for 27 years, you are also a spiritual director in private practice. A wise aging facilitator, you participate in the Wise Aging program of the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. You mentor students in Torah reading, biblical Hebrew, cantillation, and nusach, and have prepared hundreds of B'nai Mitzvah students. You are a former president and concert chair of the Midwest region of the Cantors Assembly. Mazal tov. Chazan Arthur William Catlin, cantor at Adat Israel Congregation in Lawrenceville, New Jersey for 30 years. You have inspired and educated congregants through prayer, life cycle ceremonies, and teaching. You have planned concerts and programs such as Raise the Ruach, healing services, and Jewels of Broadway and Film. You have sung, conducted, and arranged especially the beautiful music of your wife, Yvette Catlin, Zichrona Livracha, for congregational choirs and the New Jersey Cantors Concert Ensemble. Mazal Tov. Chazan Dov Karen, you are Cantor Emeritus of Sutton Place Synagogue in New York City, where you served for 36 years. Prior to emigrating to the United States, you studied violin and music theory at the Haifa Conservatory, later serving as chief cantor of the Haifa Great Synagogue. Your warm voice is matched by the lifelong relationships you have cultivated throughout the years. Mazal Tov. Chazan Wayne Shem Krieger, a Torah reader at the young age of 5 in Providence, Rhode Island, you went on to graduate from the Hart College of Music and served as cantor, educator, composer, and choral arranger for congregations in Connecticut, Florida, and New Jersey. Your New Oneg Shabbat Happening programs, Jewish home theater, and beautifully creative choir music endeared you to congregants of all ages. Mazal Tov. Chazan David A. Lipp, you have served Congregation Adath Shurun in Louisville, Kentucky as Chazan for a quarter century, teaching congregants and community members, Jewish and beyond, from preschool to adult education. You have officiated and pastored to your Jewish community and congregation and represented them in interfaith programs and concerts. Immediate past president of the Cantors Assembly, you helped meet the changing needs for both virtual and in-person programming. Mazal Tov.
Chazan Erica Jan Lippitz, cantor of Ohev Shalom Congregation in South Orange, New Jersey for 34 years. Generations of families revere your spiritual leadership. As one of the first 2 women invested as a cantor by JTS in May 1987, you have held yourself to the highest level of integrity and musicianship. Your endlessly creative spirit shows in Beged Kefet, the Kol Dodi Chorale, sheer joy, and over 100 special Shabbat services. Mazal Tov. Chazan Jeremy C. Lipton, as Rabbi Chazan of Bethel Congregation in Akron, Ohio, and having previously served communities in California, Texas, and Minnesota, you have demonstrated your passion as spiritual leader, educator, shaliach tzibor, counselor, and performer. Your numerous Cantors Assembly leadership positions, especially as director of placement, highlight your ongoing selfless devotion to your colleagues, the conservative movement, and the Jewish people. Mazal Tov. Chazan Brian J. Mayer, cantor of Temple Emmanuel in Providence, Rhode Island for 32 years. You were the artistic director of the award-winning Kristallnacht concert featuring Leonard Nimoy and a 300-voice choir. A Hazamir conductor for 25 years, you conducted at Carnegie Hall and the Metropolitan Opera. A recognized scholar of Nusach, you earned a doctorate at JTS and later became a dean at Hebrew College. Mazal Tov. Chazan Joseph Ness, cantor of Bethel Temple in West Hartford, Connecticut for 31 years. You have created inspirational services for your congregation. You have led children's and adults' choirs and ensembles and orchestras with members young and old, and founded a chapter of the Hazamir Chorus. You are a composer of music in many genres, Jewish and other. Your music has been performed by many leading chazanim. Mazal tov. Chazan Neil Stanley Newman, you served congregations in Philadelphia and Syracuse before your 29-year tenure as Chazan at Bethel Synagogue in Minneapolis, where you are now emeritus. Holder of a doctorate in education, you have been committed to the mastery of synagogue skills as a key to Jewish identity. You are a member of both the Cantors Assembly and the American Conference of Cantors, for whom you were chair of cantorial certification. Mazal tov. Chazan Charles David Osborne, now senior cantor of Temple Sinai in Toronto, you are a recipient of the Cantors Assembly's Max Wohlberg Award for musical composition, and your Samachti Ba'omrim Li is a beloved piece of synagogue music worldwide. Among your thousands of students, you take the most pride in the many who have chosen to become rabbis and cantors. Mazal tov. Chazan Barry Reich, for 50 years, you served as cantor at Peninsula Temple Shalom in Burlingame, California. You have taught more than 2,000 B'nai Mitzvah students and received the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame Northern California Award for coaching in recognition of your work. You were the director of music for the U.S. Navy Band on Treasure Island, California, and in 2004, you received a congressional commendation sponsored by Representative Tom Lantos. Mazal tov. Chazan Eugene David Rosner, for the last 31 years, you have served as cantor at Temple Beth Hillel Bethel in Wynwood, Pennsylvania. During the pandemic, you have made daily calls to congregants to recite the El Malei Rachamim prayer in observance of yortzites they were marking. You also led the synagogue's volunteer choir, and you've created a compilation of the choir's high holiday music, which is available on YouTube. Mazal tov. Chazan Janet Eileen Roth, blessed to be cantor of Congregation Or Shalom in Summit, New Jersey, since graduating from JTS, you are present for your congregations throughout their lives. You create community in everything you do, from organizing family and cultural programs to teaching every child in your shul. You teach Israeli and Jewish music at the North American Jewish Choral Festival, and your choral arrangements are sung by community choirs. Mazal tov.
Chazan Alan H. Sokoloff. As Chazan at congregations in New Jersey, New York, Iowa, and Toronto, you have inspired and taught students both young and older to understand and appreciate Torah, Tefillah, Judaism, and Israel. You have developed relationships through your music, enthusiasm, and example in times of celebration and consolation. You have inspired others to be involved in blood drives and local food pantries. Mazal tov. Chazan Faith Risa Steinsnyder. A dedicated cantor for 40 years, you were the first woman to give master classes in traditional chazanut, some of which I took, serving on the faculties of JTS, the Academy for Jewish Religion, and HUC-JIR, where you have delighted in the achievements of all your students. Your recordings of Jewish music and Torah and Haftarah chanting have instructed and inspired generations. Your liturgical compositions and articles address the wide spectrum of worship today. Mazal Tov. Chazan Lance H. Tapper. As the Chazan and spiritual leader of several congregations in California, you have brought the love of Judaism and Jewish music, including great choral and accompanied music, to all. Your work in the Cantors Assembly on a regional level as chair of the Western region and on a national level with membership and convention management, God bless you, has earned you many accolades. Mazal Tov. Chazan Stephen Jonathan Texon. As cantor of congregations in New York and South Florida, including Hewlett East Rockaway, Aventura Turnberry, B'nai Torah of Boca Raton, and now the Cuban Hebrew Congregation of Miami Beach, you have taught generations of adults and children liturgy, as well as Torah and Haftarah chanting. You encourage congregational participation and inspire choirs that you have trained and conducted. You have sung with major opera companies and at countless cantorial concerts. Mazal Tov. Chazan Lorna Wallach. In both congregations you have served, including for 24 years at Congregation B'nai Israel in Millburn, New Jersey, you have fostered a participatory kehillah. You have taught and encouraged adults to chant Torah and Megillot, enriched services with choirs, and played an integral role for hundreds of children and families on their B'nai Mitzvah journeys. You have also annually showcased college-age Jewish a cappella groups. Mazal Tov. Chazan Kevin David Wartell. You served Temple Beth El in Allentown, Pennsylvania for 30 years as its cantor educator and are now emeritus. You were responsible for forming Project Yachad, the Lehigh Valley Coalition for Jewish Education, as well as creating and hosting a weekly Jewish music radio show. You have been blessed to touch many in the community. You are currently the spiritual leader of Kesher Zion Synagogue in Reading, Pennsylvania. Mazal Tov. Chazan Eric L. Wasser. You have served in the Midwest and on the East Coast in numerous leadership roles, including as Chazan, rabbi, educator, moel, and professor. You have built communities by reaching out to people of diverse backgrounds. You pride yourself on exemplifying the teaching of Psalm 100. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. Serve God in joy. Come before God with joyous song. Mazal Tov. Chazan Corey Bradford Winter. You are cantor emeritus of Congregation B'nai Yehoshua Beth Elohim in Deerfield, Illinois. Your passion is B'nai Mitzvah training, preparing students for a lifetime, not just for one day, and involving parents and maintaining many of those relationships. You have been a soloist with numerous symphony orchestras. Recently, you spearheaded the founding of the Max Janowski Society to promote performances of that composer's music. Mazal Tov. Chazan Gerald Cohen. It's okay. As cantor of Sharei Tikva congregation in Scarsdale, New York, for the past 35 years, and as a longtime faculty member of the JTS's H.L. Miller Cantorial School, one of my best partners in crime you are, and the Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music at Hebrew Union College, you have inspired your congregants and students to find their own spiritual voices. Your musical compositions, both for the synagogue and concert hall, have moved audiences around the world. Mazal tov, Gerald. Chazan Elisa Pomerantz-Burrow, the second woman to serve as president of the Cantors Assembly, another partner in crime. You descend from a long line of rabbis, cantors, and Jewish educators. You are deeply committed to Jewish tradition, and yet you bring a fresh and modern approach to Jewish music. Relentless in breaking down barriers to meaningful synagogue engagement, your Every Voice initiatives continue to resonate throughout the conservative movement. You are grateful to all who have guided you. Mazal tov.
Special, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cantor Abramson, Rabbi Orbach, for serving as the sponsors for today's honorees. To our honorees, in bestowing these degrees, JTS acknowledges its debt to you, our partners in Jewish leadership. Our community could not flourish without your dedication and skill. May you continue to find blessing in your endeavors and enjoy good health. May you accept this tribute as both praise for your accomplishments and as an invitation to continue sharing your many talents with the Jewish people. In recognition of your continued devotion to your sacred task, the Board of Trustees of the Jewish Theological Seminary has voted to confer upon you these honorary doctorates. Therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in the JTS Board of Trustees by the State of New York, it is now my privilege to admit you to the degree of Doctor of Music, honoris causa. Mazal tov to all of you. While we honor these distinguished cantors, we also honor the families who have sustained them, nourished them, and at times made sacrifices for them. To all the family members joining us today, we thank you for your vital role in helping make this moment possible. It is now my privilege to call upon Chazan Elisa Pomerantz-Burrow, a graduate of JTS, and as you just heard, cantor of Bethel in Voorhees, New Jersey, to speak on behalf of all those who received honorary doctorates today. Following her remarks, Rabbi Gordon Tucker, Vice Chancellor of Religious Life and Engagement, will offer a closing blessing to the honorees.
Chancellor Schwartz, deans, distinguished guests, thank you so much. We did it, y'all. It is my privilege to represent my fellow honorees, my JTS classmates, cherished friends, and esteemed colleagues, some of whom I've known for 25, 30, even 36 years. How I wish we could be physically in the same room right now, hugging each other and singing together and hearing each other's voices. But as we sang in Hallel this morning, Zeh hayom asa Hashem nagila v'nismecha bo. This is the day that God has made. Let us rejoice in this moment right now. I know that we all feel the love and support and immense blessings that we share at this moment. All day long, there was an email exchange going on amongst all of us with an outpouring of love and admiration for reaching this day. And yes, these past 2 years have been full of hardships, as we have all been faced with many challenges. And somehow we, as Clay Kodesh, have had strength and courage for all of the extraordinary events which have come our way. Al achat kama v'chama, we continue to count our blessings every day. And nothing really could have fully prepared us for everything that we have faced in our own careers. Our most powerful moments have sometimes been our most difficult. Our days, and honestly, our nights too, have been full of relationship building and connecting, of meeting people where they are, and finding the strengths in others, all with the purpose of bringing Amcha closer to God. It isn't really possible to measure the importance of our sacred calling or our profound influence on those around us. I hope that each of us continues to be amazed and inspired by the impact that we have on the lives of others. I wish I had the time to speak about each one of you and your extraordinary gifts, and to thank every one of our family members and our friends and our clergy partners and our communities who inspire us every day. Yes, it's true, we are there at critical moments, often when no one else can affect the change that we can. We receive phone calls from people in distress who need us. We are called to the bedside for vidui when our own hearts are breaking. We drop everything to help someone else in crisis. We know the indescribable pain of comforting new parents in the NICU. We run from a bris to a funeral, to a bar mitzvah rehearsal, to a suicidal congregant, always with a clean suit and a box of tissues at the ready. We are the conduit to prayer, to faith, and to God. We know the utter bliss of training a new Torah reader and witnessing their personal revelation. We know the immense satisfaction of training uniquely abled B'nai Mitzvah. We are the vessel for the outpouring of emotional needs. We inspire others with our words, with our voices, and with our spirits. We compose, we craft, and we interpret both original and traditional music and tefillah to stay both relevant and authentic. We represent our shuls, our communities, and our calling everywhere we go, and I do mean everywhere. And sometimes we struggle to find balance. There are times when we question our purpose. There are times when we are physically and emotionally overwhelmed. There are times when we feel stressed out, underappreciated, overburdened, or frustrated, or all the above. To be there for all people, it takes tremendous character, physical strength, emotional fortitude, patience, courage, love, and faith. How fortunate we are as clergy to receive so many blessings and so many compliments that validate our purpose and our hard work. And yes, we might hear complaints from time to time or criticism, and we definitely hear a lot of pain, deep pain. Our calling, as you said, our calling, more than teaching and more than preaching and more than chanting, is to listen. To be a source of strength and comfort for our communities, to raise their spirits and bring them close. It is a huge responsibility and a tremendous honor. After all of these years, and please God, for many, many years to come, let us continue to love and honor what we do. Stay positive. Show joy in teaching and davening. Do everything with a full heart. My goal continues to be, as I've said before, to be like a Starbucks or an iPhone, right? I want that. I need that. Or in other words, I'll have what she's having. As we continue on our journeys, I pray that we always feel the Kedusha in our lives through what we do and how we do it. May we always have faith and belief in ourselves and in Hashem. Our greatest gift is to have everyone we encounter feel better after being in our presence. May we all be blessed with continued health, strength, and success. May our lives be filled with chavruta, tefillah, and kedusha. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, and mazel tov.
So thank you, Chazan Pomerantz-Barrow, for your really moving words, and Mazal Tov to you and all of your colleagues on the honor received today. The Talmudic sages knew that song, Shirah, was a fixture in the temple of their memory, but one thing perplexed them. The Torah seems to describe what Israel Knoll has called a sanctuary of silence. So assuming that the Levitical psalmody in the Second Temple was not done contrary to biblical prescription, what could have been the biblical basis for this practice? So two similar and evocative answers are given. The Torah described the Levi as V'sheret b'shem Adonai, as serving in, or better, with the name of God. So what service accompanied by the name of God? It can only mean one thing, the sage Shmuel said. It means song. Rav Matna derived a similarly beautiful understanding of this biblical source for songful worship. When the Torah speaks of serving the Lord God with joyfulness and with goodness of heart, b'simcha uvetuv levav, it can only mean that it is song that is service accompanied by joy and goodness of heart. So all of you, kalot and chatanim of the honor that we have bestowed today, have generously and plentifully given others the blessing of this spiritual wisdom. Your voices, your instrumentals, your midwifing the voices of others, your compositions, and above all, your songful davening. All of them have brought God's name and presence to your communities and raised them up to joy and to goodness of heart. So our blessing to you is that those brachot will find their way home to you, that your extraordinary service will always dwell in your hearts and be for you what the Torah called avodat matana, a service that is a gift above all to you. May you sense every day what Nechunya ben Hakana felt when he said, Ani noten hodaya al chelki, I give thanks for the part that I have been privileged to play. For today, we are giving thanks for it as well. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and protect you. May God bring an abundance of light and grace into your lives. And may God be kind to you and give you the peace of wholeness of heart. I want to thank everyone for joining us and sharing in this special day, and I offer truly well-deserved congratulations to all our honorees. A final Mazal Tov.
Simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, yehelanu. Simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, yehelanu. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, oh lechol Yisrael. 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 Mazel tov!
Hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 אדון על כל המעשים ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה גודלו וטובו מלא עולם דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה זכות ומשול לפני כיסו חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם בדעת בבינה ובהשכל כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה נאה זיום בכל העולם שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם עושים בהם הרצון קונם וכבוד נותנים לשמות צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו קרא לשמש ויזרח אורה והתקין צורת הבנה שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום תפארת וגדול השרפים ויובנים וחיות הקודש yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die die yada da 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 hum biddy die die yada da 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 hum biddy die die yada da 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 hum biddy die die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 hum biddy die yada da 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 da